Hi, Julian. Welcome to the podcast. You are a marketing manager for Partstown UK. Give me your proper title and tell us what it is that you do.
Thanks, Simon. Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for the invite. Julian Fisher, Head of Marketing and E-commerce for Partstown UK and Partstown Australia. Been with the company 9 years, been in the industry 25 years. Like most people in the industry, sort of stumbled into it.
Tell us how you stumbled into it.
So I did a marketing degree at the great University of Huddersfield. One of the summer jobs was at Hobart, and they were looking for a parts manager, but they didn't have any marketing for spare parts. They quickly said, look, if you've got a marketing degree, we need to start marketing service and spare parts back in the day. And that was too many years ago to mention, but that's how I got into it. First Choice and Hobart were partners over many years. And then, as the time grew on, we got closer links to First Choice. And then, the position came up to solely marketing rather than customer service and sales. And that position was marketing for First Choice. And that was 8-9 years ago.
Do you think that it helped coming from a marketing background and a customer service background, because they're two very distinct roles? So because you get a lot of marketeers who come into it as like they've got this formula for how marketing should actually work, because you were always customer facing to begin with, do you think that helped you in your marketing journey?
I definitely think so. For what we do, what we do with service and spare parts, I think you've got to know technically, you've got to know the products, you've got to know what you talk about to gain that respect from the manufacturers. It's the unglamorous side of our industry, really. It's the stuff people don't want to know, that the machines break, but it's not marketing that they break and we service it. It's the fact that you're keeping the machines going, and by using Partstown, it's that longevity and that service. But you've got to know all the ins and outs of the equipment to gain that respect, else they wouldn't, it's not a one fits all. So you've got to definitely have that product knowledge, I think, in what we do.
Do you think that would be advisable for anybody going into any kind of marketing role, that it's not just about image, it's about the brand, know the brand from the roots up and actually know your way around it before you try and sell it to somebody else? Because if you don't understand it, then how are you expecting to sell that to somebody else?
There's definitely cross skills you can use, and it's great to have a department and multi-skilled people that don't just come from the industry, that have other skills in other industries. But equally, our industry, particularly service and spare parts, you've got to have that knowledge of what would work and what wouldn't work. So that definitely, so it's a good balance of having young, vibrant people that have the skill sets and the modern skills, because marketing's always moving and evolving. But equally, you've got to have that knowledge of because we're a niche industry, particularly in the spare parts and service, that you've got to know that would work and that wouldn't work in what we do.
I can see the way that you actually do your marketing. Everybody in the industry knows that they can come to you and you'll help them out with whatever it is that you can properly help them out with. What made you decide to go down that route as opposed to just selling into service engineers departments?
People and culture. I think that's a really big ethos with Partstown. They live and breathe the core value, and it's not just to give it lip service or a marketing tool. They really do believe in the core values, and particularly that community core value. The CEO, Steve Snower, lives and breathes it, really, and he's very passionate about that. He'd employ people. And what I've learned about the Americans and the group as a whole, when I was lucky enough to go to Chicago a couple of times for the rallies, was they employ people and then they almost put them in job roles, because, there are lots of people that have, like me, I started really with marketing and business development and then focused on marketing, because you get the people in and then you move the position first. And that's where we gain the most traction with our marketing campaigns. We learned quickly that people buy from people. So the reason that First Choice set up the training wing wasn't a revenue stream; it was to make engineers safe by doing gas safety course and electrical safety courses. First core value is safety. Get the engineers safe, and then see where it goes from there. So that was definitely what we learned really fast. Was campaigns based around people seemed to hit a tone more than hard selling, products.
Did that come down as a brand strategy from America, or is that something you developed site by site, region by region?
It was interesting, really, because that's one of the reasons that Partstown bought First Choice, is because they had the same ethos, the same philosophies. So, getting the part to the engineer as quick as possible in the easiest manner was something that both companies. That's why they've aligned and why these companies have emerged, because they're doing the same thing and the same mentality, really.
So it was just literally that. It was just like, well, they're doing the same thing as we are. We need a base in UK, so why don't we just acquire that and carry on?
Definitely, I think the MDs of these companies in Europe, and us in particular, had the same ethos as the board in America. We were doing a lot of the things already. The business philosophy around 80-20, we may have called it something different, but we were doing that.
80-20.
It's the 80-20 Pareto's law philosophy, particularly when you're selling 100,000 different products. 80% of your business comes from the top 20%. So we 80-20 the top products, the top brands, and that's where the growth comes from, really. Partstown were doing that, so we aligned on many business philosophies as well as the people culture as well.
For somebody who doesn't know that philosophy, explain it to me as idiot as you can.
So it's not just a business philosophy. It comes down to, I think it was an Italian philosopher in the 1920s, Pareto. The philosophy is that 80% of your business comes from the top 20 accounts or the top 20 brands. Don't forget, we do everything. We do over 1,000 brands. So if we have to streamline that somehow, so the 80-20 philosophy works with products and with brands, and that's the focus. Because if you spread too thin, you'd never grow.
You'll never hit a target if you're focusing on nothing.
If you're all things to all people, and we service every type of customer, every type of sector. But what we found with the 80-20 philosophy was that the growth comes from that sector of 80 brands, and what we call the 80s the top ones. So the 80 brands, the 80 products, and if those two sections align, they'll always grow. You don't ignore the rest, but this is where you would automate the 20s. For example, you would help them to order online, so they're no-touch philosophy, or you make them self-serve and you help them other ways, but you spend your most focus on the 80s, and that's how we've grown over the years.
Tell us how marketing has changed for you in 25 years, because 25 years ago we're all using Netscape.
Yeah.
There'll be people sat in the audience at the minute going, Netscape?
Massively, yeah.
Text-based web browsing.
It just changes rapidly every month, every week. You have to stay on top of it. Yeah, it's completely different to the degree I did. Just employ younger, more intelligent people than you who are up to speed on things. So I've done that all my career, really, because you've got to keep up to date. From one minute we're doing, SMS projects to text customers, to WhatsApp, to innovative apps. Even when we've done heavily Google ads. Okay, and we launched that probably 5-6 years ago, and that was our heavy into advertising on Google. But in those 6 years, we've changed the way we advertise on Google almost every month. We're doing, more shopping ads now, more PMAX, and every month it's constantly changing.
So what do? Do you dig into your analytics at the end of every single month and see which performs and which doesn't perform, and then rejig it to suit?
Definitely. I'm a bit of a data nerd, really, because, again, if you're selling so many products and so many brands, you have to look at the data to point you into, and that could be general rule for every campaign, really, because, we do all sorts of campaigns, not just the e-commerce Google ads, but when we're doing the old-fashioned campaigns with the digital catalogs or the physical catalogs, where you need the data on where's the product's gone, who's bought the products, the who, what, why, where, when philosophy.
Will you always market certain types of people at certain times a year?
Yeah, so seasonality does come into it. We used to talk about the fridge season being between April and October, but we kind of do that 12 months of the year now. What I think we really target is what they're servicing. So we get that data from the manufacturers. We know which customers are servicing which machines. One of the recent campaigns that we're really proud of was the serial number lookup. So now we know when we sign a manufacturer partnership that which customer's looking at which serial number, and therefore that's the exact machine that they've bought that they're fixing, and therefore then we can campaign that target to those customers. So it just makes it more relevant. It reduces the number of returns because you're on the right machine, you're on the right parts manual, and then we can get the data on which engineers have looked at which serial number and then target them to go, right, they've got the oven contract, they've got the dishwasher contract. That's what we think is the way forward. But I think the best way to find out what people want is to ask them. I think I'm a big...
Drilling down into a lot of data. That's a lot of subsets.
It is, yeah. It is
very impressive.
But equally, engineers will do multiple kitchens and at multiple, like we're going back to the seasonality. If they're not doing fridge, they may be doing HoReCa. Sometimes there's an overlap with coffee now as well. So we're finding that some of them are doing the coffee and vending market. So we're starting to target them slightly differently as well.
What kind of pass back through rate do you get from doing email marketing drops? As soon as I see an email marketing drop into my inbox, then it gets swiped and deleted. What percentage do you expect to get back, and what do you actually see?
So our KPI is 40% open rate.
Right.
Which,
do you ever hit that 40%?
We do.
What do your emails say magically that none of the ones that I've ever opened have ever...
It's got to be relevant. It's got to be hard hitting. And like anything over the 20 years of doing this, it's got to be short, sharp and attention span of readers.
Give us an example.
Again, we've moved away from the old fashioned sort of hard hitting emails about, discount here or this. So our best emails, again, going back to the people topics on, why you need to be gas safe, why it's very important to be electrical safe as well, why it's important to have OEM parts, those hard-hitting messages, or even information about our latest manufacturer partnerships and news stories, because we want to be an industry hub, and the coming soon, what's happening now at Partstown, those get the massive open rates. If we suddenly did a door seal 10% off, that wouldn't work for us. We've got to be more agnostic and more general in what we say.
Informational as opposed to hard selling.
Yeah, absolutely. Give the customer what they want when they want it. But we find our best sort of email rates are like the monthly roundups when we do that, when it's like when we're doing events or when we're doing, we want to be an information hub rather than just a hard-hitting selling. We've got a sales team for that. So our marketing definitely over the years has changed more into information service and saying, latest features on the app or all benefits to the customer, but more subliminally rather than just hard-hitting them with products, because, we've got thousands of products.
Tell us a little bit about your great successes with testing different market areas and what has just fallen on its face, and how quickly you realised those marketing decisions were poor.
Yeah, so we started rapidly going into cleaners, so dishwasher and oven cleaners, because we had the capability to store it. So these are repeat products that people need every day or every week. So that was a quick win for us. Actually, our biggest product isn't a spare part, it's these cleaners that we sell. Comes with its challenges around storage for the hazardous cargo, but we've overcome that successfully. So they were quick wins. I think we were targeting the wrong people to start with, though. Again, because Google doesn't give you the data, we were thinking, right, let's go direct to the schools, target the schools directly. we quickly learned they don't actually have the buying, so they often delegate that to other agencies. So that muddied the waters really. And still, we still sell a lot with resellers. So that was a sort of way that we had to shift who we then target. And actually, with the 80-20 philosophy, if you sell a pallet loader cleaner and then you work with the resellers to hit the schools, that's better than individually trying to target schools. So we shiftly moved tactic onto resellers.
So did you send somebody out to research who works within certain districts and target those distributors that way?
We did a lot with public sector pre-COVID and post-COVID. We thought that was a growing market for cleaners, something where you need the OEM cleaners, and it is. But who you target, we kind of changed who we target directly, and that seemed to work. When you learn of, how schools buy or how hospitals buy, they're all different. So if we still target the people that then sell to them, but they resell, it's something that the Americans call marketplace in town. So if you've got then resellers that are selling our products as well, it just opens up the market more.
Your best piece of advice for anybody marketing, tell us what it would be.
And I don't want to do this myself, but I would say you need to listen more than you speak, which is ironic on a podcast. But you always got to learn, because almost every day is a school day. Every day it's changing. We're doing stuff with Australia at the moment. We're targeting them differently, but the campaigns, are changing so rapidly that you've just either got to stay ahead of it or be open to the latest thing, be that AI, be that Copilot, and if something hasn't worked, be honest with it and go, that didn't work. We'll be honest about it rather than say, oh, well, it did work. If the data says it didn't work, it's fine. You learn from that, and then you look at the stuff that did work.
Does America, as your brand flagship, give you leeway to do that? And do you get penalised if you don't produce? Or are they quite lenient with you if you try something and fail? Do they just go, all right, well, at least you've learned from it, move on?
It's great. You wouldn't see them as yes, they are the mothership and they own us, but it's a very two-way, working relationship, particularly in the marketing teams. We have great marketing teams in Europe and America, and we meet at least once a week. But it's kind of like a brainstorming pool rather than because they totally understand the markets are differently. Because again, they've been in the industry for many years, so they'll know that. We're lucky we have an NHS, so they'll know selling oven cleaner to the NHS works via different routes. They don't have that, and they're struggling. So they'll try and learn off us about selling cleaners, whereas we'll learn off how to target directly more cooking brands, how to target selling more compressors more regularly, things like that. So it's mutual learning base. I think if we stick to the value propositions, because again, going back to that, our core values are the same and our value propositions are the same. How we broadcast that message can have a cultural difference. We understand that the markets in Germany and France and Britain are different. So they understand, and we're lucky we have a training entity as well, which is different to the Americans. So regular touch bases, but it's more an ideas pool rather than you have to do it this way. And it's great because we learn from them, and hopefully they might learn from us. Hopefully they do a little bit.
So to wrap up, tell us your best piece of marketing advice.
I think I haven't touched on this yet, but listen to the customers. And that could be a customer who's a supplier, a brand, but, give the customers what they want, but constantly listen to what they want, because that might change. We talked about trends change and the industry changing and the tools that we use, but I'm a big advocate, as well as getting the data, regularly have touch points with your customer. We were at an event this morning, we were listening to customers, and it's like, this is what I want. And again, using the 80-20 philosophy, but listen to them, get their feedback. We're very big on getting customer feedback, not just as a KPI, but, we very much innovate and we very much push e-commerce. But what we learned coming out of COVID was people still want catalogues. Maybe not as much as they used to, and you've got an environmental issue, but I was big against it coming out of COVID, thinking people want just to move to e-commerce and buy stuff online. I get that. But in our demographic, my age and above, if they wanted the old-fashioned catalogue, don't deny them it, give them that as well. But obviously push them to then go, well, don't forget you can buy it on, there's more online. But just if the feedback tells that they still want the catalogues, then give them that and the option, I think, is what I've learned over the years.
Thanks for coming in. I know you're an extremely busy bloke.
No, thanks for the invite. I really appreciate it. And didn't mention football once. Can't believe it.
I know. We won't even go into how you managed to put yourself forward onto a pitch so you can sat with CEOs of and heads of industry playing football against them.
That's been my highlight. Yeah, but we won't talk about that. That's for podcast 2. Yeah. Thank you very much for the invite.